This news story was produced by Cogeco North Bay News. To watch the full newscast, tune into channels 12 or 700 live at 5:30 p.m. Monday to Friday. North Bay's Walk for Dog Guides goes Sunday, June 4th at the waterfront.
This year, it'll happen in more than 250 communities from coast to coast, and it raises funds that will essentially enable our foundation to raise and train and then place a dog guide with a Canadian in need. So perhaps that individual has a visual or a hearing or a medical or physical disability, and the walk allows us to do that for absolutely no cost at all to this Canadian with a disability or a Canadian in need, free of charge.
The Lions Foundation of Canada trains their dogs within 6 different programs.
They help their handlers or our clients get through their daily lives, in the basic things that they're sort of needed to do the most. And so maybe that means one of our dog guides from the Canine Vision program, a dog guide that works in a hearing ear capacity for a Canadian in need, seizure response for those who have epilepsy, a service dog guide. We have the Autism Assistance Dog Guide program as well, and the Diabetic Alert Dog Guide too. So sort of a multitude of programs that they assist with.
Here is how you can identify a service dog.
Any service dog will wear a harness, and that might explain the job that the dog is doing, and the organization that it's from. So our dogs mostly have a red harness, and it identifies them as either an autism assistance dog or a service dog or a hearing ear dog, or any of the other programs that we have. And that's the same for every organization. They have their logo, a description usually of what the dog does, and also more commonly as well, please do not pet sign on the harness, which is very, very important when you approach a working service dog.
Ashworth discusses the legislation or lack thereof in Canada.
Certain provinces there is specific sort of guidelines and some legislation to help with accessibility, but it would be great if there was, an overall sort of federal law or some sort of federal legislation that was very clear about service dogs, about the standards that they need to be trained to, and therefore then accessibility as well.
Local dog trainer Chip Keane chimes in on the lack of legislation.
I'm researching the laws, the legislation in Ontario regarding service dogs, and it's kind of ambiguous, but the definition of a service dog is a dog that provides assistance to a person that has an impairment of some sort. So in other words, it does something. As an example, if the person's in a wheelchair and the dog has to be able to pick up the keys or to open a door, or in some cases, hit an elevator button. Those are just some examples. Another really good example of a service dog is a guide dog for the blind. And these dogs are trained to help people maneuver around through the city and such. So that's a service dog. A therapy dog is a dog that is used in places like hospitals, seniors' homes, those types of things. The dog comes in, it's been trained to come in and not react to all the different stimuli in those areas, and just provide some sense of joy, some enlightenment to some of the people that are in those places. Right now in Ontario, there's only, I believe, 2 schools that have the accreditation by Assistance Dogs International, which is sort of the overseeing authority for training a service dog. However, as an example, in British Columbia, their legislation has been changed so that if the dog was trained at an accredited ADI facility, it will automatically get, and passes all the required examinations, it will get an identification card from the government. And if it's not an accredited ADI facility, the dog will have to take a provincial PAT test or public access test. And that way, if the dog passes, they can be trained by private individuals or private companies and still be able to pass the test. I don't believe that's in place in Ontario. So I think that the Ontario government has to take the lead of possibly the British Columbia legislature and get the rules changed so that we can have either private companies that do the access testing and training and then tested by the provincial test, or ADI accredited facility.
If you are interested in watching Cogeco North Bay News, you can become a subscriber by calling 1-800-267-9000.